I was 34 when I discovered my sister's Harry Potter release diary in a dusty box in the attic. It was a radiant burst of nostalgia tucked under layers of forgotten holiday decorations and an old camping tent. The diary itself was a bit battered, worn edges, the cover slightly torn, and an odor of aged paper that almost transported me back in time. I could almost hear my sister's laughter as she had scribbled her thoughts into it, filling its pages with her youthful joy. The diary was organized meticulously, one entry for each Harry Potter book. Back in 2000, my sister had been a bright-eyed 11-year-old, swept away by the magic of J.K. Rowling's world. She had lived for each new release, her heart racing as we would discuss plot twists and speculate the next book. And now, 5 years since her passing, I was left to sift through these memories, caught between a bittersweet nostalgia and an inexplicable sense of dread. As I held the diary, my current emotional turmoil was palpable. I felt a mixture of excitement and an eerie pulse of anxiety. The moment I opened the cover, I felt the pages sigh, remnants of her thoughts lingering in the air. Should I go through each entry? My fingers hovered over the pages before I finally decided to dive in, drawn by the thrill of her youthful perspective. The first few entries were time capsules of innocent delight. Her handwriting, imprecise yet charming, unfolded her thoughts on Philosopher's Stone and the wonder of discovering Harry's wizarding world. I could visualize her bright smile, her enthusiasm palpable as she predicted plot developments and created fantastical theories. I noticed the smell of old paper wafting into the air, and with it came a rush of memories, the scent transporting me back to our childhood reading sessions. But when I reached the entry for Goblet of Fire, I realized something was terribly wrong. My heart started racing as a chill snaked down my spine. There it was, a discreet note nestled among her reflections, saying something I couldn't quite understand at first. It detailed a shocking event, a moment I had only just experienced the previous night. How could she possibly know? The room felt heavier, and I held my breath, trying to rationalize the eerie moment. I reread her words, but the unease only grew with each line. A familiar small talk buzzed around as I reached for my phone to check the date once more. It was still 2024, and this entry, dated back in 2000, sent my mind spiraling. Perhaps a mistake? I convinced myself, fighting against the growing gnaw of confusion. But the more I tried to write it off as coincidence, the more the words haunted me, etched in ink across the fragile pages. The shock morphed into a relentless curiosity, and I felt compelled to explore her entries further. But these only revealed more impossibilities. As I flipped through the pages, my sister's excitement about the series wrapped around me. Walking down memory lane felt comfortable until the deeper implications dawned on me, shaping into a sinister realization. It was then I thought of connecting the dots, revisiting the earlier entries where she expressed her excitement so visibly. Each entry, all heartwarming, slowly solidified the uneasy weight of foreboding. My connection with her, shared moments discussing the series at family gatherings, they were so joyful, so normal. Yet, as I reached the ominous entry for Goblet of Fire, the atmosphere shifted painfully. My gut twisted, a physical manifestation of dread. I opened the diary, heart pounding. The entry for this book described thrilling moments, Quidditch matches and dark forces looming, things that rang true. But then came the chilling detail, revealing her knowledge of a scandal similar to an event echoed within my current circumstances. Panic gripped my heart as I reread it. I thought maybe it was just a strange coincidence. However, the next details made it clear I was mistaken. This was not a simple note. It felt too precise. The more I scrutinized my sister's handwriting, the clearer it became that reality was split, time tangled in a fight against itself. How could she have known? It was a thought that replayed throughout my mind, each iteration threatening to crush me under its weight. I sat frozen, unable to reconcile. If this was truly prophetic, what did it mean? How deeply linked were these words to my reality? This was no ordinary diary. This was an unsettling portal. If you want to hear more stories that delve into the strange ties of memory and time, subscribe to the channel. Because what I found in this diary changed everything I thought I knew about my sister. The world felt strangely smaller as I delved into the next pages, back when my sister would excitedly wait for each installment. As I recounted the stories of Chamber of Secrets, a familiar comfort washed over me. Sibling bonding through literature was an undeniable bond, moments filled with innocent glee, anticipation, and collaboration. Yet, as I devoured the pages, there was an uncomfortable feeling that persisted. An underlying dread wove through my memories, growing thicker the more I recalled her words. She seemed so alive, so present, yet these entries were knitted with the past. They created a fabric too tight, too suffocating. The excitement she felt mirrored my own, but the thrill began to trickle into strangeness. It felt warped, as though I was holding more than just her cherished thoughts. Even while absorbing her reflections, I sensed tremors of a crisis hidden in plain sight. I could feel the boundary levels blurred. An invisible thread connected her youthful wordplay with my bewildered adult perspective. By the time I reached the ominous entry for Goblet of Fire, I was enveloped in darkness. I braced myself, anticipation gnawing at my insides. Once again, I found myself gripped with indecision, captivated yet frightened. Opening the entry unleashed the momentum of a nearby storm, both thrilling and draining me entirely. As I reread my sister's words, I realized the truth. She had somehow predicted a recent event, one that was still echoing in my life. I couldn't help but question my reality as I transformed into a hollow outline of a man, my mind fracturing under the weight of this revelation. It was overwhelming. The realization hitting that time was not linear. It was wrapped, tightly tied into knots of purpose. If this sends shivers down your spine, hit that like button. Trust me, it gets worse. The entry contained 4 more details and clues, each bearing insignias to future disasters, events I hadn't yet completely envisioned, but knew were lurking in dark shadows. It painted a picture too vivid, one I never wanted to be part of. This cyclical chaos meant something. Her words swirling with synchronicity, wiring themselves into moments only I was starting to comprehend. I tried to convince myself that perhaps the diary was simply commemorating something conventional, yet it chipped away at my resolve. The impossible nature of these entries wove a dark tapestry of profound uncertainty. I instinctively felt it was a twist of fate that linked past with present in a treacherous narrative. My hesitation turned to paranoia. As I continued to comb through the pages of Goblet of Fire, I could not shake the feeling of being observed, as if the diary was reflecting my physical reality. Rereading sections led to even further recounts of doom tinged in the otherwise mundane. What I had brushed aside as coincidence became a tapestry of despair and tragedy overlaid in a canvas of hopefulness. But it was the final revelation in the entry that turned everything upside down. The realization crashed over me. I was not merely reading a narrative crafted years ago. I was glued to a prophetic timeline, a thread sewn by my sister, foreseeing that I would eventually unravel her mapped timeline of my life. As I tread deeper into the implications of this, I understood that they were booted with her innocent fascination, the juxtaposition of shadows against bright wonder. This wasn't just a diary. It felt like a curse, propelled by the expectations of a heart anchored to loving memory. If this deep dive into my sister's diary resonated with you and impacted how you see fate and memory, hit that thanks button below. Every contribution keeps my research on temporal anomalies alive. The deeper I sank into this abyss, the more sinister the whole experience became.
Rationality slipped through my fingers, leaving behind questions I couldn't bear to ponder. I began to investigate the temporal theories surrounding diaries full of prophetic predictions. Reflecting on the nature of fate amid swirling histories left me unraveling. In my desperate search for clarity, the night swathed my sanity, stealing warmth as I sought solace from peers, experts, and the wisps of the digital world. They echoed my disquiet, fueling my frenetic need to capture meaning. But no documented cases existed like mine, rendering me increasingly hopeless. Through frantic Google searches and deep inquiries, I sought to recreate the phenomenon. Testing the diaries against real life, was there some sense in it? Would it eventually right itself with almost sinister acumen? But how could time behave this way? Was I teetering on a timeline where free will had vanished, held hostage by the diary's intent? I sat alone in the dim shack of uncertainty, arms wrapped around knees as I stewed in growing fear, shadows elongating further. Understanding the how didn't prepare me for the why behind this diary. It simply quaked the very scene I pondered. Was I the architect of my own entrapment? Want to explore the deepest, darkest theories around predestination and ancient predictions? Become a channel member for exclusive content beyond imagination. Triggered by moments etched within these pages, events began to unfold with alarming accuracy. Glimpses of within-time sightings wove their charm through mundane restaurants and sidewalk encounters. Overwhelming dread sailed through the thoughts that perhaps my life had colluded with something timeless. Past entries intertwined with current events, revealing a pattern I could no longer ignore. Each sentence felt like a candle flickering in the dark, urging me to piece together a timeline woven with threads of uncertainty. Reliving past choices like a reflecting pool, I soaked into despair, lost among scraps from my sister's frantic writing. It was anxiety wrapped in sickening realization. The diary echoing before time had merged, hinted I was mere guidance, trailing breadcrumbs that guided my steps toward doom. She hadn't just chronicled each word, she illuminated a path existing in synchronous madness. I've compiled my findings and cases on similar phenomenon in a complete ebook. Find the links in the description for the research that could blend time and memory. As I summoned enough strength to wrench my thoughts from their embrace, I felt compelled to confront the darkening fate foretold in the diary. I needed to confront the outcomes described before it became too late, breaking free from this displayed horror portrayed before me. Driven and disoriented, I sought out the individuals linked to the scandal, bearing the weight of my sister's words as I questioned everything. Were my actions predicted? The tension built as I stood face to face with the realization that my choices had been chronicled in the diary ahead of these events. I felt like a marionette, strings tugged in real time. The emotions boiled over in a torrent, each prediction flickering before me, swallowing certainty while marring faith with despair. Confrontation became volatile as the inescapable cascade gave way. As the scheduled events began to unfold, I screamed at the injustice of such violation. What had I done? Was this the dark truth of my sister's love, a predatory promise woven through pages of joy? Every action, every decision seemed preordained, and each step I took alone felt thunderous, echoing back through time itself. That's when I understood that my sister's diary wasn't just a record, it was a curse. If these shocking twists fundamentally shifted your understanding of time and memory, support investigative journeys like mine with the thanks button below. But clarity morphed into horror spiraling back toward me. I grasped the final threads unraveling, pulling free from a mental shroud, each line drawing me into a deep black pool, echoing staggered caution, tantalizingly close to answers that skirted the edge of reason. The secrets hidden within the diary revealed that perhaps I'd been unwittingly collaborating with something far more evasive than fate.
A cosmic order that demanded I dance, stripped of agency while I eyed the path she'd set before me with a queasy conviction. No matter how hard I tried, the implications I faced felt insurmountable as I lingered on my bed, lying awake, hoping it was pure fiction or merely a game my mind had conjured. The darkness tiptoed close, molding itself within me. All my findings on this temporal anomaly and more are in my ebook. If you feel a connection to similar experiences, the link is in the description. This is not just one story, it's a deeper exploration. The last secrets of the diary glimmered somewhere deep in the recesses of my mind, tethered to roots I'd just begun to excavate. Realization dawned. I comprehended that the expectations lingering before me would shape the destiny of everything, binding me into a dance of hope and dread. I still have the diary, and each day I fear it may speak again. Everyone trod lightly in fear of being caught, yet the horror seeped in just as I understood that the echoes of her words still resonated with everything I did. Despite a contented plea for resolution, I faced a decision 3 months too late when traces of her hope had morphed into damning artifacts of dread. As I mulled over the anticipation encasing my decisions, I pressed my finger delicately over the pages. This mind encased in heat felt somber against uncertainty. I sought clarity only to realize that time remained tangled. Yet another incident, one that I could not shake, emerged with sinister designs. Reflecting on each experience, I opened the page once more, etched sharp and yearning against the weight of untouched memory. A glint caught my eye. The last entry remained blank, but the surface glimmered like an omen. Then, just last week, another entry appeared, etched in her timeless handwriting, this time predating the initial find. I braced myself, luminosity creeping over shattered edges as the tension weighed heavy, an unsettling reflection on the surface of the diary. No traditional hook, but just last week, another entry appeared, this time predating the initial find. The moment I opened the diary again, heavy with expectation, the air in my room shifted dramatically. The pages seemed to pulse with life, filled with memories I hadn't yet uncovered. Tenderly, I traced my fingers over the last marked entry, its blank surface luring me closer, almost daring me to commit to the truths hidden within. Then, I spotted the latest entry, predating my initial opening of the diary. I felt dread tighten its grip around my heart like a vice. This wasn't just a surprise. It carried an ominous weight, a sense of inevitability that rendered me breathless. My sister's handwriting, so distinctly hers, appeared to flicker in and out of focus, tugging me deeper down its treacherous path. With a tentative breath, I began to read, each word echoing with familiarity. Her voice, usually bright and brimming with vitality, had shifted. Now it felt warped and tainted, as if it bore an endless foreboding. The ink spilled forth illustrations of future events, scenarios I had already lived through, that had never before been etched in time until now. It was as if the diary had captured a narrative that existed beyond its pages, threatening to engulf me. My heart raced as the realization crashed over me. I hadn't merely discovered a collection of memories. I was entwined within a prophetic timeline, forced to navigate through the deliberate threads woven by my sister. Her innocent fascination had morphed into something profoundly darker, a juxtaposition of childhood wonder against an unfolding menace. The diary became more than a mere artifact of nostalgia. It morphed into a curse, tightly binding my fate to her written word. As I sank deeper into this chaotic abyss, rationality slipped through my fingers, leaving behind an array of questions so troubling I could scarcely bear to ponder them. In my desperate search for clarity, I sought solace within the digital realm.
Peers, experts, and unnamed voices echoed my disquiet, amplifying my frantic quest for meaning. Yet, as I scoured online resources and leafed through obscure references, I found no parallel to what I was experiencing. It left me standing alone, staring into a void where my reality was distorted by consequences foretold, yet unavoidable. Each sentence I read felt like a candle flickering in darkness, urging me to piece together a timeline woven from my sister's thoughts. The knowledge that I was potentially acting out a script written long ago formed a thick layer of anxiety that wrapped around my chest. Every forward step felt choreographed, as if I were merely a marionette, strings tugged by unseen hands, guided toward uncertain fates. My own choices felt like echoes from the past, each decision traced on the fragile paper entwined with her joy. But now I stood on the precipice of realization, my past cascading dangerously into a future tangled within those ink-laden pages. Cleaning my room had transformed from a mundane chore into an introspective, dark journey. I felt compelled to confront the outcomes described within the diary before those prophetic words reshaped my present into something utterly out of my control. Driven by the pull of something larger than myself, I sought the individuals connected to my sister's ominous predictions. Battling against fear, I needed to uncover what lay beneath her joyfully penned notes, whether they became shadows on my own path or the very fabric of a predestined horror. As I braved the depths of uncertainty, I whispered to myself in the growing night, straining to hold on to my sanity. The chilling reality of what her diary had become shadowed my every thought, forcing me to ponder. Was I teetering on the edge of a terrifying destiny she'd foreseen? What truths lay hidden in the pages seeking enlightenment? Would I even want to uncover them? All I knew was this: the diary waited, ever patient, promising connection to the endless dance of time, ever watching. I still have the diary. Each day, I fear it may speak again. As I held the diary in my trembling hands, the air around me thickened with a tension that seemed almost sentient. Memories of my sister flooded my mind. Her relentless enthusiasm for the Harry Potter books, her laughter as she recounted wild theories about wands and spells. Those were moments steeped in joy, a world where magic seamlessly blended with childhood innocence. In those days, we were simple kids, captivated by the wonders of fiction. But here I was now, grappling with the dark reality of a diary that had transformed from a cherished relic into an accursed object of dread. As I traced my fingers over her neatly written words, an unsettling chill curled around my spine. I could almost hear echoes of her laughter, but interlaced with that joy was an ominous shadow, a foreboding implication that her innocent scribbles held a far darker significance. Turning to the pages of Goblet of Fire, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that her entries were entwined with my present reality. Each account, once whimsical and light-hearted, seemed to twist into something sinister as I approached the later sections. The vibrant thoughts in her writing wove narratives that danced perilously close to the impending, chilling reality I was beginning to live through. They whispered predictions, as if she had somehow pierced through the veil of time, charting a course I must now tread. Each entry resonated like a haunting chime, urging me to pay closer attention. What had once been hopeful musings had morphed into something more, a labyrinth of fate where each decision appeared preordained, every action a piece of a greater puzzle. I felt increasingly like a marionette with strings being pulled by some unseen hand, burdened by the weight of choices I hadn't yet made. As those thoughts spiraled in my mind, I knew I had to confront what I discovered. I felt faint, on the brink, as I reached out to individuals interconnected with my sister's life, her words bobbing like ghostly lanterns ahead of me, illuminating paths I had yet to chart.
My heart raced as I imagined the connections, each inquiry bringing me closer to unraveling this tapestry of twisted fate. But an aching fear settled in the pit of my stomach. Would understanding lead to liberation, or would it only chain me further to this grip of destiny? If the diary was a key, then what lay beyond that door? Was I prepared to face whatever shadows lurked there? As the reality of what I was unraveling settled like a weight on my chest, it seemed I might find the answers I sought. If you're intrigued by these bizarre, haunting explorations of time, memory, and destiny, subscribe to the channel. There's much more to unearth, even darker tales that link the past with whispers of the future. Lingering on my bed, memories of my sister's laughter reverberated in my consciousness like distant echoes. Yet, they were increasingly accompanied by exerting dread, a sense that I was moving inexorably toward a truth I couldn't fully grasp. Each flipping of the diary's pages weighed heavy, pulling me deeper into realms of uncertainty. How had her words transformed into dramatic contours of a world seemingly coated with inevitability? With each page I turned, the contrast of her joyful essence yet painted a dire palette drawn from the highest stakes of fate itself. But I couldn't retract my determination. The yearning to excavate the reality behind her predictions was too strong. As I closed my eyes, a suffocating darkness whispered promises and trepidations within me. I badly wished for clarity, hoping those shimmering sparks of hope wouldn't extinguish before I had the opportunity to explore their depth. Gripping the diary tightly, I mustered the courage to delve deeper, praying to uncover the hidden truths within its pages. Every word was a step into an unfathomable abyss, yet one I felt compelled to explore. What awaited me on this perilous path? Only time would reveal the answers I tirelessly sought. The moment I released a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding, I understood where this journey was leading me. The diary felt heavy in my hands, but the weight of it was comforting, like holding a small piece of my sister's spirit. With resolve, I flipped to the first pages of Goblet of Fire, tracing the words my sister had written all those years ago. Each letter felt timeless, alive even, as I shuddered under the ominous shadow that loomed over my understanding. Flipping through the pages, I was struck anew by her vibrant descriptions, events that burst forth with life and color, a reflection of a young mind steeped in the enchantment of a fantastical world. I could almost hear her voice, the way she'd excitedly interpret details in the story, connecting characters to her own life, always looking for lessons, always searching for meaning. But now, those lessons took on a different hue, a deeper resonance that unsettled my gut. With every passing page, my heart quickened as I approached a section filled with descriptions of the Triwizard Tournament. I scanned her words, glancing over her hopes and dreams tied to those narratives. What struck me more than anything was how she deftly documented her feelings while weaving them simultaneously with hopes for the future. Beneath those innocent aspirations lurked a quieter, creeping dread, an inkling I couldn't shake as reality twisted in unsettling ways. Each detail seemed to shimmer with a dark significance. My sister had written about the tasks faced by the champions and the trials they endured. I realized how closely those narratives mirrored the challenges I'd been confronting in my own life. The potions, spells, and tests she described felt collated with ominous echoes of my world, as if they were preparing me for a greater reveal. The chilling thought clawed at the back of my mind. Was she warning me? Had she sensed something lurking just beyond my consciousness? As I turned to an entry detailing the shocking death of Cedric Diggory, the words leapt from the page. My pulse raced. She mentioned change, how loss transformed and solidified her connection to those she loved. That profound lesson of cherishing time with family and friends felt heavier than before, bordering on prophetic. My heart sank. Was this a foreshadowing of what was to come for me? I wondered if she had tasted the bitterness of inevitability, warning her future self through the ink of her youthful spirit. Suddenly, the thought struck me. Was she labeling the past in preparation for my future? My actions had always felt like echoes reverberating through space and time, and now I was beginning to see a pattern in her words. Tension coursed through me as I continued reading, dreading what awaited me in the remaining letters. I felt both lost and compelled, desperately needing to uncover the truth buried within these words. A deep pit formed in my stomach as I reached the entry referencing a book club she had mentioned joining, a community gathering, insightful discussions around literature and growth. The date she wrote fit unnaturally close to the day. This is where her joyous anticipation was underscored by a haunting sense of foreboding. Would I become entangled in something far worse than I had ever dared to imagine? I deeply regretted not contacting her friends, people who could help guide me through the fog. Yet all at once, clarity struck. This was my chance to break the cycle, to forge my path using her insights. My sister had mapped out a timeline, and I could find ways to avoid the convergence of doom if I paid careful attention. My pulse quickened, a mix of fear and determination flooding my senses. I needed to reach out to those who shared her love of this world, to connect with the very fabric of memories she'd woven. I set my resolve, be it through social media, forums, or gatherings. I would seek out the book club she had poured her heart into. That's when I noticed an existential shivering. The words had taken a different turn, becoming entangled with my own narrative. As fatigue began to weigh my eyelids, I rescheduled my exploration for tomorrow. I was reminded of the lingering promise this diary symbolized, the chance to negotiate fate's tight grasp, to imbue my future with hope and agency anew. If this journey into the uncanny resonates with you, and you feel the pulses of every twist and turn, gesturing toward fate itself, hit that like button. Because the revelations I stumbled upon next are even darker and reveal connections that almost felt too surreal to grasp. This was but the tip of the iceberg. I had barely scratched the surface. The grasp of destiny clenched tighter day by day. But with every turn of the page, I began to craft an understanding of my sister's whispers. I understood that each entry held profound accusations about my existence, a living momentum that compelled me to evoke changes in a world already shaped. With the diary still warm in my hands, I climbed into bed. My thoughts buzzed, refusing to calm, a cacophony of questions and answers dancing through my mind. What awaited me in the morning? Was I prepared to step into the realm my sister had envisioned? The night swallowed me whole, and as sleep breached my consciousness, I hoped I would awaken ready to confront the past and step boldly into the uncertain dawn. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting soft rays across my room. I awoke feeling like I'd entered a world transformed, as if each sunbeam held a whisper urging me to dig deeper. My heart thrummed with anticipation, a cacophony of thoughts bubbling to the surface like an urgent stream. What awaited me today? Would I unravel the further intricacies woven into my sister's diary? Instinctively, I reached for the worn diary lying next to me, its presence both familiar and unsettling. Each entry felt alive, pulsating with memories and secrets that had yet to reveal their full significance. The book seemed to reflect my own consciousness, an extension of my sister. It housed both vibrancy and anguish, a duality that both comforted and haunted me. I began my day with a renewed sense of purpose, determined to confront the questions that gnawed at the edges of my mind. Would my journey through my sister's words lead to resolution or further entangle me in a fate that felt increasingly beyond my control? Imagining her joyous laughter, I prepared for the inevitable, a confrontation with the past, a step toward an uncertain future. As I prepared to reach out to her friends, a wave of urgency washed over me. I navigated social media, sending messages to people I didn't know but felt inexplicably connected to, members of that elusive book club she had once cherished. Each click of the keyboard resonated with the weight of her unfulfilled hopes, reflecting the pursuit of community she had fostered. I needed their insights, their shared experiences, to unlock the tapestry of secrets hidden within those pages. I sent messages to the people she mentioned, their names echoing in my mind like familiar strains of childhood songs. While I waited for responses, I felt a profound need to engage with the diary again. I returned to the entry about Cedric Diggory's shocking death. My heart pounded as I imagined the threads tying those events with my own existence, transcending time. Could it be that my choices had echoes in the past, links that bind us all together with an invisible string? What had my sister noticed before she left this world? With a rising pulse, I decided to plunge deeper into her narrative. I meticulously combed through the rest of the entries related to the tournament, desperate for connections or hidden implications that could change my understanding of my reality. As I read, I couldn't help but marvel at her insightful observations. She had spun together the adventure and whimsy of fantasy, along with the broader lessons of life, loss, and resilience in the face of adversity. But with each realization came a growing unease. If she had been hinting at something larger, something beyond her understanding, what dark revelations hovered on the periphery? I found it difficult to stomach the idea that I was peeking into a timeline not entirely my own, yet woven into it, inseparably detracted from the fabric of the world. And then, with a sudden clarity, memories began scrambling together. I recalled family gatherings, her reading circles with friends, laughter amid discussions of books. My childhood self's image of her was exploding with warmth, her joy spilling over into the lives of all who nestled close. Yet somewhere in that brightness loomed shadows, faint but present, a tethered warning. I suddenly needed to breathe. The knowledge of what lay ahead felt suffocating. I needed to voice my concerns, to share the unease consuming me. Seeking some semblance of sanity, I reached out to my digital network, posing a question to my growing follower base. Have you ever felt the weight of a loved one's unspoken words? How do you navigate signs that point toward a darker future? In that moment of vulnerability, I pulled together every doubt, every fear woven tightly into a question that could not be ignored. If you've experienced something similar, drop a comment below. I craved connection, insight from those who may have also brushed against the edges of inexplicable knowledge. As the day unfurled, responses began to trickle in. Strangers and friends alike shared their thoughts, each reply a tiny candle flickering in the darkness of uncertainty. Some offered comfort, others unsettling revelations of their own. Each voice added nuance to my desperate quest, and I carefully wove their insights into the threads of my own reflections. Together, our murmurs echoed through the digital ether, stitching new understanding beneath the surface. Powerful connections were forming, bridging the chasms of memory and time, illuminating aspects of my sister's life that I had barely comprehended until now. Each story shared, twisted, and evolved the narrative I thought I had grasped, revealing layers obscured by my own grief and trepidation. By evening, an email notification popped up, and my heart raced as I opened it. It was a response from one of her friends from the book club. They were willing to meet. The bright implications spurred my heart. This was a crucial step toward unraveling the dark leniencies tailored into the fabric of my sister's words. As night draped its velvety blanket across the sky, I reflected on everything that had transpired. The diary, once a mere repository of memories, had transformed into an intricate web of warnings, a guidebook of caution. Tomorrow would mark a turning point, the potential collision between my past, my sister's wisdom, and the unfathomable future. With fervor, I made my plans for our meeting. I could sense the shadows lingering on the edges of my consciousness, but hope flickered tenuously within me, lighting the path forward. I couldn't help but wonder what awaited me in the shadows, and whether my sister would be there,
beckoning me onward. What was lurking around the next bend in this narrative spun from echoes of time? Whatever it was, I needed to embrace it. I needed to confront it, and at last reveal the depths of the secrets buried deeply within the pages she had left behind. The next morning dawned with a particular clarity, as if the world itself was eager for me to uncover the truths hidden within my sister's diary. Each ray of sunlight felt like a nudge, spurring me onward, reminding me of the urgency behind my search. My heart raced with anticipation and anxiety, echoing the frenetic pace of thoughts running through my mind. What new revelations awaited me today? I hurriedly dressed and made my way to the cafe where I would meet Claire, my sister's friend from the book club. With each step, the weight of the diary nestled in my bag felt simultaneously comforting and foreboding. I found myself craving not just answers, but the support of someone who had shared in my sister's life. She might have insights that could guide me through the maze of knowledge I was navigating. Upon entering the cafe, I spotted Claire at a secluded table, her brows furrowed as she pondered a note in front of her. As I approached, her face lit up with recognition and a warm smile unfurled. "I'm glad you could make it," she said, gesturing for me to sit. "I think we both have an important journey ahead of us." "Absolutely," I replied, my heart pounding. It's been weighing on me, what she wrote in her diary, the way her words just resonate in my life now. I'm eager to share the discoveries I've made. Claire leaned in, her interest piqued. "What have you uncovered so far? You mentioned something about Cedric Diggory." I took a deep breath, ready to expose the tapestry of darkness and light my sister had woven through her words. Yes, she wrote about his death not just as a plot twist, but as a significant transition. It made me think, was she foreseeing something? Could her experiences have deeper meanings? Understanding flickered in Claire's eyes. She was always introspective, connecting literary themes to her own life. It's possible she felt the weight of those stories in a way we never fully perceived. We fell into a rich discussion about my sister's entries, sharing insights and memories that wrapped around us like an invisible thread. Each shared recollection stretched and deepened my understanding of the past, while simultaneously unraveling the fabric of my future. The cafe was filled with the lively murmur of patrons, but I felt as though we existed in our own bubble, cocooned from the outside world. As the minutes morphed into hours, I shared the fears I'd voiced to my digital network, emphasizing my desire to connect with others who might have felt similarly haunted by unspoken truths. Claire nodded attentively, leaning closer. "You're not alone in this," she reassured me. "The ambiguity is frightening, but confronting it could bring healing." Suddenly, an idea struck me. What if we organize a meeting with the rest of the book club? Everyone who meant something to her could help piece together these strange experiences and perceptions. Maybe they can fill in the gaps. Claire's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That's brilliant. Let's gather everyone together, share our memories, and delve into her words as a collective. It might help us all process this better." By the end of our meeting, we had a plan to rekindle the connections among friends and members of the book club. A tapestry woven from the shared memories of my sister, interpretation of her stories, and the fears that loomed on our horizons. As I stood to leave, I felt unexpectedly lighter. "Thank you for this conversation," I said earnestly, looking into her eyes. "It's given me the courage to face things I've been avoiding." Claire smiled warmly. "We're all in this together. Your sister's words may just be the bridge we need to walk over uncertainty." As I walked home, I recalled the weight of the diary in my bag, my sister's voice echoing in my mind. With a renewed sense of purpose, I understood that stepping into the collective memory of her story was essential to confronting whatever specters lay ahead. If this journey resonates with you, and you find yourself grappling with shadows of your own, show your support with the thanks button below. Engaging with others can illuminate the winding roads we travel. Together, we can traverse through uncertainty into clarity and healing. As the day slipped into night,
I prepared to dive back into the pages of the diary. Each word held the promise of connection, revealing not only my sister's past, but also uncovering the mysteries interlaced with my own path. I felt the weight of the world shift slightly on its axis, as if inviting me to confront the shadows with a heart full of hope. What awaited me next would be the beginning of a new chapter in navigating the intertwined fates spun together through love, loss, and legacy. The day had arrived for our first meeting of my sister's book club since her passing, and as I made my way to the cafe, my heart fluttered with emotions I could hardly name. Excitement, dread, nostalgia, each feeling coalesced into a singular purpose: to uncover the narrative we had collectively woven through memories. Today, we would honor my sister's voice and explore the boundaries of her insights together. As I stepped into the cafe, the familiar sounds of chatter and clinking cups welcomed me, yet I felt as though I was entering a realm untouched by time. The book club members had gathered at our usual table, their faces a mosaic of expressions, some bright with anticipation, others carrying the shadows of grief. Claire waved me over, her demeanor a comforting presence amidst the swirling emotions. "Thank you all for being here," I began, feeling oddly breathless as I stood before them. We all shared something special with my sister. Her words had the power to connect us, to provoke thought and stir our hearts. A collective hush fell over the group, and I felt their collective energy focusing on me, inviting me to continue. I wanted us to come together today to explore those connections. There are things I've discovered in her diary that I believe may resonate with you too. One by one, they nodded in understanding. The warmth of their support gave me confidence, and I opened the diary, feeling the weight of legacy resting in my hands. She often wrote about the stories she loved, but with a twist. Her reflections were laden with the knowledge of her life and her fears. It strikes me now that she was preparing us for her absence. Claire chimed in. Those reflections were never just about the books. They were about life itself, the struggles, the joy, the uncertainty of what came next. Taking a deep breath, I decided to share a particularly poignant entry. Her thoughts on characters facing challenges, like Cedric Diggory, highlighted her grappling with mortality and change. Do you remember how we all felt when those moments happened in the narrative? The group exchanged knowing glances, murmurs of agreement blending in the air. As I shared further insights, I witnessed a transformation among them. Stories began flowing as they recalled their own responses to her writing, each memory connecting back to her spirit. A spark ignited in Sarah's eyes. We kept talking about those pivotal moments, but I wonder, could those moments have been warnings? Did she sense something coming? An urgency deep beneath the surface? Taking a breath, I responded, "That's what's been haunting me too. What if she was trying to guide us, urging us to confront the darker elements before they manifested?" The conversation shifted. An electric current flowed through the group as they shared memories of their experiences, moments where our sisters' insights echoed in their own lives, often warning of shadows that loomed over them, even if they hadn't realized it at the time. As the discussion continued, I felt a sense of unity growing. "I think we should make this a regular gathering," I suggested, feeling the spirit of a community coalescing around us. We can create a space to share our stories, not just of books, but of our lives, our fears and triumphs. If you wish to become active members of this journey, I'd love for us to continue meeting and growing together. Claire smiled widely, her enthusiasm infectious. "That's a fantastic idea. We can explore her themes, share reflections, and support each other through the uncertainties that come with life." Enthusiastic nods and murmurs of agreement flooded the table, and I realized that together we were crafting a tapestry of healing and memory. It filled me with warmth to think that this might become a legacy in its own right, a collective effort to navigate the twisting paths of our lives while honoring my sister's wisdom. As the meeting drew to a close, we exchanged ideas, setting a date for our next gathering while embracing the mission we had decided to embark upon together. Stepping out of the cafe, I could feel the weight of the diary still held closely against my chest, but now it felt less intimidating and more like a link between us, a symbol of how my sister's presence threaded through our paths. If this journey touches your heart and you find yourself resonating with our purpose, consider becoming a member of our group. Join us as we navigate these dark waters together. Empowered by my sister's indelible spirit, I knew that each step forward would be underpinned by a newfound community. In the end, perhaps the greatest lessons weren't just about the warnings my sister shared, but about the bonds we formed through her legacy. A tapestry woven in love, loss, and the strength to move forward together. In the days that followed our first book club gathering, I found solace in the collective energy we had created. Every meeting grew, spilling over with shared stories and healing conversations. My sister's absence transformed from a heavy weight on my heart to a guiding light that illuminated paths into the deeper unknown. Each gathering was not only a tribute to her memory, but also a collective exploration of the themes she had cherished, woven into our lives with strands of hope and caution. As we embraced the essence of her words, I felt compelled to dive deeper into my reflections. I returned to her diary, each page a portal to her thoughts and fears. It was during one quiet evening that I stumbled upon entries connecting her experiences with broader themes of fate and loss. Rereading her insights opened my eyes wider towards our own realities, the delicate dance between control and surrender, entwined within our narratives. One passage struck me particularly hard. Sometimes the things we fear most are the truths we avoid, she had written. This resonated with my ongoing exploration of our discussions within the group. The threads binding her stories to our lives were becoming clearer, and I felt a pull to capture this journey in a more permanent form. Fueled by inspiration, I hatched a plan to compile our collective insights, memories, and the nuances hidden in her words. I envisioned an ebook, an anthology if you will, documenting what we had learned together and exploring how my sister's legacy would echo through time. This would become a testament, not just to her life, but to the unbreakable bonds we were fostering among friends. When I proposed the idea to Claire and the others, excitement rippled through the group. This could be an essential resource, Claire said, her eyes sparkling. A way to not only remember her, but also provide guidance for those navigating similar journeys. With all hands on deck, we began organizing our thoughts, weaving our anecdotes and reflections into a cohesive narrative. We respectfully dissected her diary, stitching together themes and stories, crucial connections spanning across our memories and experiences. As my sister's voice rang through our discussions, so did echoes of uncertainties, fears, and revelations about life and what lay beyond. Through the process, I began to notice the magic of shared vulnerability, each member opening up without reservation. I learned so much. Some faced trauma due to circumstances beyond control, while others fled from haunting memories that weren't theirs to uphold. Each challenge shared connected us more deeply, forming a beautifully tangled tapestry of life experiences. As we worked, I realized that the tales we were crafting weren't merely reflections of my sister's wisdom, but also an illumination of broader themes present in each of our lives: loss, love, hope, and the fractures that occur in their absence. Each entry we captured unearthed layers of strength within our community, reminding us that we could find light even in the darkest shadows. Once we completed the draft, the moment felt monumental. I was struck with both pride and nervousness over how others might receive this anthology. This isn't just for us, I shared with the group one evening. It's an opportunity for others to connect with what we've experienced, a way to illuminate paths that might feel lost in the darkness. If this resonates with even one person, it will have been worth it. With renewed commitment, we set our sights on publication, realizing with time that an ebook could reach many who may feel isolated in their grief. To take it further, I understood that sharing our narrative through digital platforms would amplify our mission. If you're interested in exploring deeper themes of memory, loss, and the bonds we've formed during this journey, grab the full ebook once it's published. It's not just a story. It's a study of resilience, understanding, and the connections we can forge through shared experience. As we entered the final stages of editing, a sense of anticipation crackled in the air. Completing the ebook became symbolic, a bridge linking my sister's legacy and our newfound community to countless others who might benefit from engaging with her words. Every page turned was a step toward confronting the specters of the past. Each shared reflection a reminder of how stories that were once confined to the past, could resurface as powerful tools of healing. Despite the impending pressures of publication, the gathering of my sister's friends transformed into a tribute, a vessel honoring her memory and marking the beginning of a new journey, a journey intertwined with hope, light, and shared understanding. As we wrapped up our final meeting before publication, the warmth of camaraderie enveloped us, weaving us closer, stronger, and more aware of our place in the tapestry we were spinning together. It was a legacy that would live on past its creation, inviting other voices to weave their threads through the digital narrative we had set forth to share. The project was more than just an ebook. It was an invitation for others to embrace their own experiences and to find solace in knowing they weren't alone. The cycle of grief and light would continue, united by my sister's enduring spirit, the love she fostered, and the wisdom she left behind. A new chapter was waiting to unfold, and I was ready to embrace it, alongside those who had shared in this profound journey of healing and discovery. As the days turned into weeks, the anticipation surrounding the publication of our ebook grew more palpable with each passing hour. We were on the cusp of something transformative, each of us feeling the gravity of what we were about to share with the world. While our journeys through grief could be isolating, the prospect of unveiling something that bound us together instilled a unique blend of hope and apprehension. Finally, the day arrived. We gathered once more at the cafe, the site of our previous meetings, and the air buzzed with excitement. It was as though time had distorted, wrapping us tightly in the embrace of this shared experience. The sizable table we occupied felt like it was within a confessional, a sacred space laden with love, memory, and revelation. Before we began discussing the official launch, I took a moment to reflect. Today, I want us not only to celebrate our work, but also to honor my sister's spirit. It is her essence that has woven this tapestry together, I said, struggling to contain the swell of emotions. Without her, we might not have embarked on this journey. Claire nodded, her eyes misty with understanding. She would be so proud of us, proud of this community we've built. Through our collective grief, we've created a beacon for others, a reminder they aren't navigating these waters alone. As we dove into the final touches, we spoke about the importance of making our ebook accessible to those who might relate, who could see their own struggles mirrored back at them. We brainstormed ideas on how to promote it effectively, wanting our message to resonate. The ebook needs to invite people in, just as my sister did with her words. It's crucial for us to express that they can find solace in these shared stories, I urged passionately. Let's include a section at the end encouraging readers to share their experiences in the comments. This could help foster a community, just like we've built, suggested Marcus. The idea thrilled me. The more voices we could weave into our narrative, the stronger our message would become. As we finalized the details, I proposed a call to action, thinking it might be a way to motivate our readers. If they find the stories resonate with them, they should hit the thanks button to show their appreciation. It's a simple way to enter a conversation with us. The group exchanged approving glances, and it dawned on me that we were about to open a new chapter, a space for dialogue and connection, allowing grief to serve as a linking thread rather than a barrier. With our ebook finally ready for publication, the atmosphere in the cafe shifted from nervous anticipation to exuberant celebration. We raised our coffee mugs in unison, clinking them together, and I felt a profound connection to each member of the group, the sound reverberating like a shared heartbeat. "To my sister," I said, lifting my cup higher, "and to creating something that will carry her spirit forward." "Here's to the light within the darkness," Claire added, her smile a reflection of shared warmth. As we shared laughter and anecdotes, I realized just how much this experience had transformed each of us. What had begun as individual paths through grief had converged, revealing our identifications with one another, the strong bond forged through vulnerability. We weren't merely piecing together memories, we were breathing life into the legacies born from loss. The afternoon slipped into evening, and as the golden light outside began to fade, I shared the final thoughts that weighed on my heart. We've journeyed together through the echo of my sister's words, but now we're tasked with reaching out beyond ourselves. Let's ensure that when others read our ebook, they feel the warmth of connection we've cultivated here. The plan had been set. Once we published the ebook, we would host an online discussion, encouraging readers to share their thoughts and experiences in the comments. Each acknowledgement would serve as a testament to our collective journey, an expression of resilience, of finding strength in shared stories. Finally, the moment arrived. The ebook went live, and we were ready to make it known to the world. My heart raced with uncertainty as I watched the digital page populate with our shared narrative. "It's out there now," I breathed, overwhelmed by the thought. Excited chatter erupted, and I felt an energy building among us. Today was more than just a publication. It was a call to others who had traveled similar paths, encouraging them to reach out for connection. As the hours passed, I checked for messages and feedback. Seeing responses from readers flooding in filled me with pride. To hear others share their own experiences in light of what we had opened up felt almost surreal, a realization of our mission coming to life. "Remember to hit the thanks button if you found value in this journey," I reminded the group repeatedly. It wasn't merely a gesture for us. It served as an invitation, linking those who read our words to the heart of our community. Through every comment, every gratitude shared, I felt a deepening commitment to continue embracing this mission. My sister's legacy was igniting sparks of connection, forging paths through the shadows. That evening, we gathered one last time, the ambiance of the cafe transformed, emboldened by the energy we had created together. "This is just the beginning," I said, overcoming the calm my heart sought, knowing enough to honor the power our stories could unlock in the hearts of others. The journey ahead remained vital. Countless futures awaited. Together we were ready to take our next steps, moving forward with shared purpose, hand in hand, taking every flawless thread and weaving it into the legacy that my sister had begun, ready to unfold toward a horizon we hadn't yet glimpsed. Weeks passed swiftly, each day filled with responses from readers eagerly engaging with our ebook. It was magical, almost surreal, watching my sister's words ripple through the lives of others, creating a community grounded in shared experiences of grief and healing. Each notification on my phone was a testament to the power of vulnerability, with readers opening their hearts, sharing their reactions, and recounting their own pain, triumphs, and victories. Gathered at the cafe, our familiar table buzzed with a vibrant energy. Claire, Marcus, and the others joined me, and we often revisited the stories shared after our publication, stories that echoed the sentiments we had captured in our work. "Look at this comment," Claire exclaimed. "This reader wrote that they hadn't felt connected to anyone since their loss, but reading our book made them feel seen." "I saw that too," I replied, a warmth enveloping my heart. These words, our words, they matter. They strike chords that resonate deeply within others. Beyond the growing online interactions, we had a sense of urgency to do more. "I think we should host a live virtual discussion where readers can share their experiences and reflections," I suggested. This can strengthen our community even more. Claire nodded in agreement. Yes, engaging with readers firsthand could foster new connections and deepen the conversations we've started. The rest of the group chimed in, a chorus of enthusiasm fueling our plans. We organized a date for the live discussion, excited but also a bit apprehensive about how to facilitate such an emotional meeting. Let's make it clear that this is a space of openness and support, Marcus proposed. Everyone should feel comfortable sharing their stories. As the day approached, my heart raced. I remembered how this journey began, the shadows of grief I had encountered, and how these experiences had transformed into pathways toward understanding. There was a part of me that feared revisiting some of my own vulnerable spots, but it was the strength of our community that propelled me forward. The night of our live discussion arrived, and as I logged in, I caught the sight of familiar faces eager to connect. Some participants had read the ebook, others were joining out of curiosity, ready to embrace a shared vulnerability. As the virtual room filled, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this very moment. Welcome, everyone, I began, my voice steady but tinged with emotion. Tonight, we're not just here to talk about the stories we shared in the ebook. We're here to explore our collective journeys of loss and growth. Each of us carries weight, but together we uplift each other. As the discussion unfolded, attendees took turns sharing their reflections. Some spoke of loss, others of hope, and many expressed how my sister's words had resonated. Hearing those experiences affirmed the importance of our mission, grounding me in the knowledge that we were not alone. This sharing felt like alchemy, turning grief into connection. When the conversation turned to questions, one participant asked, "How did your sister's insights inspire you to keep moving forward?" I hesitated for a moment, reminded of the depths of her wisdom. Her words taught me that even in the darkest moments, there's light to be found. She helped me confront what I feared most, guiding me to this very space. As we leaned into our stories, we encouraged attendees to share their experiences in the comments and to reflect on their journeys. This thriving dialogue created a sense of kinship, and I knew we were forging a tangible connection, a thread woven through the shared human condition. At the end of the session, I felt a rush of emotions, each one affirming the necessity of our efforts. If you found comfort in our discussion, I invite you to continue exploring these themes in our ebook, I said, smiling. We'd love for you to grab a copy if you haven't already. It's not just about my sister's words, it's about all of us navigating the unpredictable journey of grief together. As the first comments flooded in, I recognized that we had opened a door to something transformative. The book was more than just a collection of stories. It had created a space for others to share their journeys, and I felt deeper than ever that our mission had only just begun. Our gathering that evening underscored the importance of longing for connection, especially amidst the shadows of loss. Together, we were not merely reliving the past. We became architects of a hopeful future, crafting pathways into the light, resonating through the journeys we had shared. In the days that followed, I watched as the connections deepened, friendships blossomed, and community grew. Together, we could face whatever darkness lay before us. We could move forward, not just for ourselves, but for all those yearning for understanding and connection in their grief. The legacy we were building, inspired by my sister's spirit, was becoming something more profound than I could have ever imagined. As the months rolled on, the bond within our community only strengthened. Each interaction, every shared story, became a thread weaving us closer to one another. The digital conversations sparked by our ebook transformed not just how we grieved, but how we embraced life moving forward. It was a tapestry rich with the colors of memory, resilience, and hope. I often found myself reflecting on my sister's lasting influence. Her spirit permeated our efforts, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly connect with one another. One day, while scrolling through our feedback, an idea struck me. What if we organize a gathering where our community could meet in person? I proposed to Claire and Marcus during our usual cafe meetings. That's a fantastic idea, Claire exclaimed, her excitement matching mine. A space where we can all come together could solidify these connections. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. It would help deepen our relationships beyond the screen. We need to allow everyone to share in person. It could be cathartic. We quickly began planning the details for a community gathering. That sense of urgency and anticipation which had propelled our previous efforts bubbled to the surface again. The venue chosen was local and intimate, a small community center that offered a safe haven for us to come together and share. As the date approached, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. Would people show up? Would they be comfortable sharing their stories face to face? There were so many unanswered questions, but deep down, I felt something meaningful awaited us. Finally, the day arrived. Walking into the venue, I was anxious but filled with hope. I watched as familiar faces gathered, some of whom I recognized from our online discussions, and new ones who had joined the community. There was a palpable energy in the air, a blend of nervousness and excitement. As we settled in, I realized that this was more than just a meeting. It was a celebration of our shared journey, a gathering of souls who understood one another's trials. I took a deep breath, stepping to the front as the room quieted down. Thank you all for being here. What began as a project rooted in grief has blossomed into something extraordinary, I said, my voice shaking slightly with emotion. Together, we shared stories, memories of our loved ones, and the lessons learned through our pain. The laughter that punctuated the somber tales reminded us that even in sorrow, joy could emerge. As the hours passed, I noticed barriers dissolving. Each sharing contributed to a sense of unity I had only hoped to achieve. At the end of the gathering, we created a space for reflection. While holding a microphone, I realized how healing it felt to witness the strength in vulnerability. If you've found solace in our community, I encourage you to grab our ebook if you haven't already. It's a tool to navigate this unpredictable journey together, I concluded, my heart swelling with pride. As the event wrapped up, I was left with a sense of completeness, the kind that comes from understanding that our collective healing had just begun. This was the legacy my sister had instilled in all of us, that grief could be transformative and it could forge connections that would resonate throughout time. Together, we had created something profound, a living testament to resilience, love, and the power of shared stories.